Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with half the Cabinet this morning at the vaccination centre here in Homebush. Can I start by saying and thanking all the workers, all the health workers here for the amazing job that they have done. And I remember back with the Minister for Health when we were going through this period of time, we would always ensure the funding was available to get people vaccinated as quickly as possible, as soon as that supply was there. And by centralising here at Homebush, the health workers here have done an incredible job. This has got to be one of the best operations, not just in the country, but around the world when it comes to getting people vaccinated in a safe and efficient way. And I just want to thank them for all their tireless effort during this period. Today, it was actually yesterday, marked a great milestone for our state with our 70% double dose vaccination rate. We've always said that vaccination is the key to our freedom. And the sacrifices and the effort of people right across New South Wales have ensured that we can open up as quickly and safely as possible. We know that this is not just a health crisis, it's an economic crisis too. New South Wales has been incredibly successful. Last year, our economy was stronger at the budget this year than it was at the outset of the pandemic. The jobs that we lost last year, we recovered not just all 300,000, but 30,000 more. But there's going to be a difficult road ahead. We know that. But come Monday, New South Wales gets back on track as we start to open up. Now, there's a few ministers today who will comment in relation to aspects of some amendments to the roadmap. But today we are announcing some changes to what we have previously announced. So at the 70% mark, so that is on Monday, swimming pools, which were previously closed until 1 December, will be open. That's indoor swimming pools will be open for rehabilitation, for children's swimming lessons, organised lap swimming and the like. In addition to that, we're doubling home visitations. We're increasing outdoor gatherings. Importantly, we are increasing or lifting the caps in relation to weddings and funerals from 50 to 100. And that's from Monday. We know that this has been a very difficult time for many people who have lost their loved ones. This could be some of the most important moments in anyone's life, in farewelling someone that they are close to. And I know personally and that many people, almost everyone across the state, over the last 12 to 18 months would have gone through this very difficult time. So that cap will increase come Monday for both funerals and weddings. In addition to that, in relation to the school timetable, you'd be aware that we previously had a three-tiered system and a three-stage system, which the Education Minister, Sarah Mitchell, will make further comments on following myself and the Deputy Premier. But we'll be bringing forward all schools to return by the 25th of October. So stage one will be the 18th of October. And we'll be moving the period from November into the 25th of October. So all school children will return to school by the 25th of October. That's great for kids. It's a major relief for parents and their sanity. And I think this is an important decision today. And I want to thank all the teachers who are there getting vaccinated to ensure that we can open our schools as safely as possible. In addition to that, when it comes to the 80% mark, as you'd be aware, we've set 3 stages out on the roadmap. On the 80% mark, we will be removing the requirement to wear masks in the office. In addition to that, and Stuart Ayres will speak in terms of major events, we have a cap on major outdoor events of 5,000. That will remain in place, but we want to make the point today that exemptions for venues will be granted. So with COVID-safe plans, venues can apply to through New South Wales Health. The Health Minister will look through those issues, and exemptions will also be able to be made in that space. We're also increasing at the 80% mark outdoor gatherings, home visitations and the like. So there's some of the major changes to the roadmap that we'll be making today. We're also increasing outdoor controlled events, that's ticketed events, to 3,000. They are they are the main ones. So today is a great day. Can I finish before the other ministers? I hand to the other ministers. It's a great day for our state, and I want to thank every single person right across New South Wales. This is not over, but to get to 70% is incredibly successful for everybody right across New South Wales. We're going to get to 80% very, very shortly as well. And if we continue to work together, if we continue to make the effort and make the sacrifices that we have all been making, New South Wales will be open again. And that ensures we can get people back to work, keep businesses open, and get the economy and society back to where it was before this pandemic began. I'm now going to pass to the Deputy Premier. He's going to say a few words because there's a regional change today that I think it's best that he takes you through. Sarah Mitchell will then speak, the Education Minister. Minister Hazzard has asked not to speak, so he'll take questions. And then Minister Ayres will speak about jobs implications and more of the outdoor recreation side of things as well in terms of major events in line with his investment portfolio.
Thanks, Premier. And I just want to also reiterate and say thank you to all those people right across New South Wales that have come forward and been vaccinated. To have 70% target reached yesterday was an incredible milestone here for this state. But also I want to thank all the teams from New South Wales Health, because in regional areas there has been some real challenges making sure that people have been vaccinated. Some of those communities are widespread. We've had pop-up clinics to ensure that regional and rural areas have got those rates and those numbers up. The Premier is right. This is a roadmap that is for everyone. This is about opening up New South Wales in a safe way. This is about getting kids back to school, opening up doors of businesses again, getting people back to work. And what we want to see is businesses buzzing once again. Now today, we're also announcing that regional workers will be able to return to work if they've had one dose of vaccination. And they'll be given a grace period until the 1st of November to receive their second. Now this has been done because in some areas it was difficult to be able to get vaccines into those areas. And what we are doing is giving a grace period to allow those businesses to be able to open their doors from Monday. This will include regional areas outside of Blue Mountains area, Central Coast, Shell Harbour and Wollongong. This is important because what we are focused on is keeping our communities safe, but also opening up New South Wales.
Thanks, Deputy Premier. Well, good morning, everybody. Look, for me as Education Minister, I just cannot wait until that day when we have all our students back in the classroom across New South Wales. As I've said many times, we know that the best learning environment for our children is in the classroom with their teachers and with their friends. And certainly for parents right across the state, as a parent myself, I know how hard it is when your children are learning from home. So we've always wanted to do whatever we could to have our students back. The fact that we will now have all our students back in the classroom by the 25th of October, which in fact was our original return to school date when we put our plan forward, is testament to the community and the incredible job that they've done to get vaccinated. It's exciting to know that students will be back soon, hearing from their teachers, learning in those great environments. I'm really pleased that we're still taking the staggered approach, starting with our kindergarten and Year 1 and Year 12 students from the 18th. It's important that they have that time to really reintroduce themselves to school, particularly for our littlest learners. We know that they're often the hardest children to help learn from home because they are young and they need that constant support and supervision from their families. But we also know for our 5 and 6-year-olds, for many of them it will be like starting school again. They haven't had a year that hasn't been disrupted by COVID, so it's important that they're our first cohort coming back. But very excited that the rest of our school groups will begin also on the 25th. It's all part of our plan to make sure we've got a safe and sensible return to school. Vaccination for our teachers is mandatory, as you all know. We've got COVID-safe measures in place. We have audits for our natural ventilation to ensure that our classrooms are safe. I'm really pleased with our teacher vaccinations. Again, as many of you know, we've been capturing that data. As of 10 p.m. last night, I can tell you that 45,000 teachers have told us that they are fully vaccinated and ready to return to work. Those numbers will grow in the coming days as that data is collated. So we are ready, we are excited, we can't wait to have our kids back, and I'm just delighted that that will now be from the 25th of October.
Thank you, Premier and other ministers. Today, we're getting ready for reopening the New South Wales economy in a prudent and COVID-safe way. We've asked the people of New South Wales to go and get vaccinated, and we've laid out a roadmap so they understand the direction that we're heading. We've also supported businesses prepare for this reopening. They've been able to download copious amounts of information from the newsouthwales.gov.au website around their COVID safety plans, the ability to inform customers about their need to be vaccinated. Today's adjustments to the roadmap are about making sure that as we step through that 70, 80 and 1 December framework, that there is some consistency around each of those steps. We're also making sure that we prioritise COVID-safe events, and we're also prioritising outdoor activities. We want to make sure that where events and activities can happen outdoor, the roadmap allows us to do that. So that's why there's an adjustment, particularly for controlled, fenced, ticketed, COVID-safe events from 500 to 3,000. We want to be able to prioritise and allow those events to take place. We also recognise that as the people across New South Wales continue to get vaccinated, it will allow more of our economy to reopen. So this means businesses, and particularly event holders who are looking at events across the summer, they want to know how they can hire everything from a small venue right through to the largest venue we have in the state. And so we're clearly articulating that in the roadmap today. The Premier referenced that we're moving from just a 5,000 requirement to allowing New South Wales Health to work with venue owners around creating a COVID-safe plan for each venue. Now, what this means is that rather than having Health create an exemption for each individual event that takes place at a venue, so take, for instance, CommBank Stadium at Parramatta or Stadium Australia here at Sydney Olympic Park, rather than having a COVID safety plan and an exemption for every single event, we're going to create a COVID safety plan and an exemption for the stadium based on its own operating model. This has worked incredibly well over the last 2 years. New South Wales Health and Venues New South Wales have worked very closely together, and many other venue operators around the state have worked with their local health districts and the New South Wales Public Health team. This makes it easier for people to book venues, it makes it easier for venues to conduct events, and it makes it easier for health to work with those venue operators to ensure people who go to those events do so in a safe way. And it articulates very clearly to the community how they can attend events in a COVID-safe way, and people can book our venues.
I was just say, Brad has decided to bestow his wisdom on us today. So
Thank you, Premier, for your strong support. I really appreciate it. Look, I couldn't help myself, so I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, I'd just like to acknowledge, as the Premier did, the health staff who've been involved in this incredible vaccination effort. You know, this has been a 1 in 100 year effort. It's been a war against an enemy that has largely been unseen right across the world. But here in New South Wales, the health staff, many health staff, have said to me that they felt a great pride in actually being able to work to fight back against this virus. I just want to say to all the health staff across New South Wales, whether they're the nurses, the doctors, the cleaners, the administrative staff, I just want to say thank you, because our pride is far greater in you than probably you could ever imagine. We just think you have done the most incredible job, and to get up to 70/70 vaccination has been because of your hard work and, of course, the incredible work of the community. So more broadly, thank you to the community, but thank you to our health staff right across this great state. I also want to say that the Premier has obviously determined that as of Monday, the arrangements will change in regard to the announcement time for the community, so they're aware that the 11 o'clock timing of the announcement on numbers of cases will change, and the health staff will make those announcements a little earlier. Today, as it's a transition, I'm going to just announce the basics for everybody. I'm not going to be announcing all the details. The health staff will actually make those announcements at 11 o'clock. But for those of you who would like to know the numbers are continuing to go down. We cannot, though, we mustn't take this for granted. We really need everybody to keep going out. If you haven't been vaccinated yet, you're now in the minority, but you need to go and get vaccinated, because that's what you will do to keep our state safe. But I'm very pleased today. I prefer it to be zero, but nevertheless, the numbers have gone down again today, and today I can announce that there are 587 positive cases here in New South Wales. And the tests, again, thank you to the community, amazing community. 112,186 tests. So we're heading in the right direction, and now with this 70-70 double dose vaccination, I should say, everybody now needs to get out and take us to closer to 100%. As Health Minister, I want to see us all vaccinated, all safe, and keeping our community safe more broadly. Thank you very much. Sorry, yeah. Of course they are. We wouldn't be doing anything it wasn't. And the Premier's already. The Premier's already. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Christopher. The Premier's already announced that obviously with the numbers going down, as they have, we've been able to revisit some of these issues, and that's always been the case. And I think that both steady as she goes is what the Premier is doing, but also making sure that where possible, there are changes done on the basis of the health advice. Of course, the health advice has been there.
The fact that, if we could just ask you this question, the fact that Dr. Kerry Chant isn't here today, nor is anybody from New South Wales Health, do they endorse this plan?
Yeah, we had a very productive and constructive crisis cabinet meeting last evening. That's the first, so that's the last crisis cabinet meeting we'll have as we transition to a new subcommittee, a COVID and economic recovery subcommittee of cabinet. These changes today are measured, sensible, and ensure that we open up in a very safe way. I met yesterday for some time with Dr. Chant and with Minister Hazzard. We ran through a whole range of issues. We then took some suggested changes to the roadmap to the cabinet meeting last evening. It was a long meeting, but one in which I think was constructive, productive, and these changes today I think will make a real difference. We want New South Wales to open up as quickly as possible, as safely as possible.
What does it say about your respect for Dr. Kerry Chant after she's led us through this for the last 2 years that you wouldn't invite her here today as one of your first major...
I have the highest...
It is a bit disrespectful, isn't it?
Dr. Chant is one of my favourite constituents from Epping, and we have a great relationship and always have. But as I made the announcement yesterday, we are moving away from 11 a.m. press conferences. The health numbers will now be provided from next week.
Chief Health Officer should be...
It's also an economic crisis as well, and as the new Premier, we're the elected officials, Chris. That is, and styles might be different and changes get made, but in my view, we had a very constructive discussion last night, and as the Health Minister has said, these changes are supported by the health team. But this...
She has endorsed these changes born out of health advice, or are these your ideas?
I sat down with the Health Minister and Dr. Chant yesterday. We went through some of these potential changes. We went through the opportunities to make some sensible amendments, some stable and steady amendments to the roadmap. And I think the changes today are sensible. And as the Health Minister has clearly pointed out, the fact that we've been incredibly successful in getting the vaccination rate up, and once again I want to thank the health team here for their superb job, and at the same time we've seen case numbers decline. So if you look at the position that the state is in, we're in a very positive position, and I think the changes we make today will have a real difference to people across the state, and particularly I want to call out again that one in relation to funerals, because we know many people have made enormous sacrifices, and from Monday I think that will provide the support for many families across New South Wales.
If you rush these funerals, you'll be having more funerals. Are you sure that you've got endorsement from Kerry Chant?
Yeah, Dr. Chant and the health team are members of the crisis cabinet. We had and will continue to also be members of the subcommittee moving forward. Yes, they have endorsed it. Yes, they have endorsed it. I think the Health Minister has made it very clear the changes today are supported and endorsed by the health team and the entire New South Wales government.
Just to confirm, will it still be intention that these changes for 80% happen the Monday after? Has
Yes.
that changed? And is there an updated date as to when we hit that 80%? Is there any updated forecast?
Well, I mean, I think it's looking like, within the next couple of weeks following the Monday. I mean, we do the maths on it. That's probably the date we're heading. But I want to say to everyone right across the state today, please keep your appointments and get vaccinated. The fact that we're able to open up on Monday in this way is testament to each of you, the sacrifices you've made in going out and getting vaccinated, because that has ensured we can open up as quickly and as safely as possible.
Premier, this announcement's all about providing businesses certainty.
Yeah.
Given we've had the October 11 date now for a couple of weeks, why can't you give us a date for the 8% Monday?
Well, you know, we've provided when we've set out a date we've set out a date. We've set out a date for the 70% at Monday, and if we had a date for 80%, you'd be sitting here today probably saying you should be moving that forward. The system we have in place is based on the vaccination rates as it has to be, because we want to open up in a measured and safe way. Vaccination is key to our freedom, that is, and opening up. And if you look at the numbers, I believe our numbers are lower, our hospitalisation numbers are lower because of the great work of every single person across the state to be vaccinated.
Premier, just a few days out now from opening up, how's the QR code checking system going?
Good.
Is it going to be ready?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this was a point of discussion last night in our meeting. Guidelines were provided on Sunday by the Health Minister and obviously worked on by the Customer Service Minister. There'll be some further updates in relation to that. We've received a fair bit of feedback from the business community in terms of reasonable steps and the like, and there'll be some further guidelines or strengthened communications around that for businesses over the next couple of days as we open up. And that's one of the reasons as well why we're not bringing that date forward to Friday. We need to have stability and certainty for the business community. The Minister Ayres and myself, over the last period of time, as we've set this roadmap out, have worked very closely with business and with industry towards this Monday reopening, and that's why we've kept the date.
Premier, there are many businesses who are very anxious about that Monday reopening and their conversations with the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
What is your message to businesses that are going to be facing this really challenging?
Well, you know, yes, it's going to be difficult. What's most important is that we're opening up, and we could not. The alternative is remaining closed, and that is not an alternative in my view. We need to open up. We need to open up safely, and that's why we have made the decisions we have, so that only those who are double vaccinated are able to attend the various restrictions those venues where the restrictions that we are lifting. Now, we provided business guidelines on Sunday. There has been some feedback in relation to that. It's not going to be a perfect science. I accept that. But nothing is always perfect, but we want to get it right. We've listened to the feedback, and I can say over the next 24, 48 hours, we will provide further guidance in relation to it. Oh, sorry, it's over here. A rainy Monday? Ah, that's no good. Rain? Scrap Monday. So the rule. No. Look, that has been important, I think, in providing certainty to businesses. And I know, I mean, obviously, from the public perspective, we want to get out as quickly as possible. So I accept that. But we need to do it in a calm, measured way. And I think working towards that Monday situation provides certainty to businesses as we clearly approach that double dose rate, knowing that the date is the Monday after has provided certainty. I mean, look, we've certainly discussed it, but I think where we've landed is that provides the most certainty to industry and the business community. Look, we'll obviously have a look at those things. The main point of today's announcement obviously is the amendments to the roadmap, but we are committed to the position of Monday after. But look, if there are always sensible changes, then we'll look at them. We're not just going to be doggedly pursuing one approach here because we've said that's what we'll do. You know, it's about providing certainty to the business community, certainty to the public, and that's why we've decided to keep the date on Monday. But once again, can I just say to everyone across the state, thank you so much for getting out there and getting vaccinated, because that has been the key to opening up our state. Tom, yeah, I'll come back. No, I work very closely on the preparation of the roadmap. with Minister Ayres and the former Deputy Premier John Barilaro. So, look, any government has different views as we put those, as we put the roadmap together. And I think based on where we are today in terms of sensibly looking at where the case numbers were, the fact that the vaccination rate was at 70%, it gave me an opportunity to reflect on it, to sit down with the Health Minister, which I've done over the last 48 hours. And I think the changes that we've made today are very sensible and make sense.
What's the health advice on keeping the 5 kilometre travel rule and no visitors to people's house for 3 days?
Well, I mean, see.
What have you been given by Dr. Kerry in terms of stopping spread over those 3 days?
Well, Chris, I mean, these are the discussions that we could have had over the last 18 months. As I said, it's not a perfect science.
Sure, but you're going to be in a position where potentially police will be fining people for driving outside their 5Ks, 48 hours out from home.
Yeah, I accept that, Chris, but you have to draw a line.
There's no medical advice.
No,
that underlies that.
Chris, you have to draw. We need what the government needs to do is provide stability and certainty and set a date, and that's exactly what we've done. You can run those lines, but ultimately we need to make sure things and clarity is provided to the public. That's why we've kept the date on Monday, and I think that's the right thing to do.
Potentially dangerous for New South Wales. Let it rip Dom is your nickname.
Who made that? Who came up with that nickname? Who came up with that nickname? You?
Certain these changes might play into that, and
Not at all. These are
you could see our pandemic response go backwards.
These are sensible changes worked through with Dr. Chan and the health team, approval of the health team, approval of the cabinet ministers yesterday, and I believe the changes we're making today are sensible, measured, and ensure we continue to open up in a safe way.
Regarding the numbers of the case numbers, Premier, based on the modelling that was released a few weeks ago, we didn't reach the people 2,000 in the hospital admissions either. Now that we're down to the 500s, what is the modelling telling you about the lift we're going to see in case numbers in the coming weeks?
Well, we looked at that. We looked at that yesterday, and obviously, as we open up and mobility increases, case numbers will increase as well. That is. Well, we're working. Well, the health team has providing advice in relation to that, but we're incredibly confident. We have to learn to live alongside this virus, and the key to learning to live alongside the virus is a high vaccination rate, and we want everybody to go out and get vaccinated. We can get, as the health minister has said, close to 100%. We're going to get above 90%. We have one of the highest vaccination rates, not just in the country, but globally, and that means we can open up safely and never go back. And that's what we're on the cusp of. And so once again, I keep saying it, but please, if you've made a booking for a second vaccination, please keep the booking. Please keep making that sacrifice, because that means we can continue to open up safely.
I'd like to ask you about masks. We've heard day after day for months that the protection masks are not and also the risk of transmission in office buildings. Now, under the current 80% setting, all indoors, including office buildings, new 80% masks not required in office buildings.
Office buildings, yeah.
In office buildings. Is that something, just to confirm, that Dr. Chan did approve?
Yes.
Can I also please confirm, do you need to wear masks in strata buildings from 80% still as you transmit, as you walk through your apartment buildings? You know, common areas in apartment buildings, will you still be required?
We'll provide. Firstly, can I start with the second question, and that is, did Dr. Yes, every change to this roadmap has been supported and approved by health. So I think I've made that very clear. I couldn't make it clearer. In relation to masks indoors in offices, as we open up, it's very important we get people back to work as the stay-at-home orders are lifted. We want to do that safely. We'll provide further guidance, obviously, in relation to ensuring that face masks are not mandatory in the office at 80%. That's obviously comes in a bit later, probably in the next 2 weeks. We'll provide guidance and certainly guidance in relation to strata. But the main point here is we want people to keep safe. Masks are important to doing that as we move to those higher vaccination rates. But this pertains to being in the office.
And 80% of teachers still wearing masks?
Yes, teachers are wearing masks, and that is important at 80%, because obviously, with our school children, many of whom will not be vaccinated. At 80%, it's still important that teachers who are double vaccinated in face-to-face learning environments are still wearing a mask at this stage.
Following up on that, a lot of parents obviously very relieved to hear that schools will go back earlier, no doubt about that. But obviously some are also concerned about child safety and equal proportion. Tell me, how confident are you with merging those final two stages and getting them all back on the 25th? I think how many of the kids will actually be vaccinated, and how many teachers will you have back in the classroom ready to teach?
Sarah will speak to that on
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris. Well, obviously, we've made it clear for our staff that requirement to be vaccinated is mandatory. It's a condition of employment. Anyone who's coming back from that 18th of October date needs to be fully vaccinated. As I said, we've got encouraging numbers already of our staff who are vaccinated, and those numbers will go up as that data collection continues over coming days. I will also add we've worked very closely with Health, and I want to thank Minister Hazzard. We'll be having a priority week for teachers to be vaccinated as well from that week starting the 17th of October as well, just to clean up anybody who maybe hasn't had their vaccination or needs their second appointment, and we'll do that here at this hub at Kudos Bank Arena, and we'll work with Health to look at other venues across the state as well. Again, another opportunity for teachers to be vaccinated, adding to the ample opportunity that they've had now for several weeks to be able to get those jabs. We've also got a range of measures in place in our schools to make sure there's a COVID-safe return. We've done an audit of each and every classroom and learning space in all 2,200 public schools across the state. That will finish by the end of this week. It's to make sure we've got the natural ventilation that we need. We are fixing windows as we go. We are making sure that we follow those health guidelines around those measures that are important for our return to school. As the Premier said, we'll still have mask wearing on site when students return for all of our staff, for all of our high school age children as well. It's important that we have that extra measure in place, and we've got teacher vaccination. So there's a range of measures. Each school will get their own advice in relation to not just that infrastructure audit, but today parents will also receive information from their schools about those COVID-safe measures in place. Because while people are excited for students to go back, obviously I appreciate that for some parents they are a little bit nervous and they want to make sure that it's a safe learning environment for their children, and that messaging going out to them today will help to reassure many of our families.
A number of private schools have asked their parents to involve who's vaccinated, who's not. Do they have the right to do that? And is that something that should be compulsory?
Yeah, well, look, that's a matter for those schools. We won't be doing that in our government schools. We haven't made vaccinations mandatory for our students. Education is a right for each and every child in New South Wales, and a student should not be denied their education because of a medical choice that their parent might make. So we will not be asking for that information from our students. But obviously for our staff, no, we do know how many teachers. Every teacher who is on our site will need to be vaccinated by the 18th. As I said, we know as of 10 o'clock last night, we've got 45,000 teachers across the state have already told us that they're fully vaccinated and ready to go. But as I said, Chris, this is the beginning of that final piece of data capture. We've already... Yeah, so as I said, we started collecting survey results from our staff all the way back in August in terms of what our vaccination rates have been. Our principals have been working. Our principals have been working with our teachers. I've been meeting with teachers every week and principals. That they all know what staff are vaccinated, whose appointments are coming up. We've got all of that in our system that is capturing that now. I'm really confident that we are going to be able to make this work. I know we will. Teachers want to get back to school. They want to be back in the classroom with the students in front of them and engaging with other teachers. This is important that we do this. We are prepared, we have planned, we are ready, and it's going to be fantastic when they're all back.
Premier, I'd like to ask you a question about, it's probably not important for the older generation, because if you're 18, 19, it's probably top of mind, nightclubs, right?
Yeah.
You've got a chain where they can open at 80%, but with seated, no dancing. I mean, isn't that the whole point of going to a nightclub, is going out for a dance?
Yeah, I agree.
And when is dancing going to be back? Is it
Well, it's on that 1 December, on the current roadmap, that's down for 1 December. Look, that change was more of a tidy-up change because we had nightclubs closed until 1 December. But in my view, if they're operating within their licence arrangements and they want to use their premises in a way that's not technically a nightclub but a bar, well, that just makes perfect sense. You shouldn't just categorise nightclubs and say they should be closed to 1 December. So I think this change provides those businesses that opportunity to open up. And look, I acknowledge the point of the question. Young people have have done it pretty tough during this period of time. I mean, this is for many the best years of their life at 18, 19, and they haven't been able to go out, go clubbing and doing that. So I want to thank them, and my commitment is we'll get those clubs open as quickly as possible.
Mr. Hazzard, on cosmetic clinics, what's your response to the fact that some cosmetic clinics have been operating for this entire lockdown, doing non-essential services like lip fillers and the like, while non-elective surgery is being cancelled as well?
Non-elective surgery, or it's not. There are various categories of elective surgery. Yeah, you've got it back the front. Yeah, there are various categories, and the most urgent elective surgery has still continued throughout, and the reason for that is obvious. The other categories were on the advice of the health team, and had been done nationally as well, to ensure that we had adequate staff to deal with the possible pressures that would have come. We're very lucky that so many people have come out and got vaccinated. And as you see, most of these incredible medical staff standing at the back here and filling this building would normally have other jobs in our hospitals. They had to be made available to be able to do the vaccinations. So that's the priority.
Was it appropriate for cosmetic clinics
Sorry.
changes regarding close contact isolation and quarantine requirements?
Mm.
Any changes to that out of last night's subcommittee meeting?
No.
So that remains 7 days.
These are very modest changes that have been made, and can I just say, I mean, the Premier didn't mention it, but I think we were in meetings yesterday, as well as all the other swearing-in matters that had to be done yesterday for the new ministry. I think the Premier was in meetings with the Chief Health Officer and me for probably about 4.5 hours yesterday. So it was a very extensive day and very, very well considered. So anybody who wants to impute that there wasn't well considered or that wasn't given full support is just playing silly media games.
Just on
Do you want me?
the 20 cap on restaurants is back on.
Talking to me or what?
The bookings with Hazzard with 4 square metres setting out the 20
The 20 cap limit is no change from the roadmap. It's
Wasn't it? You didn't let us change it to 4 square metres?
no, we had per square metre density across all of those hospitality venues, but we also said there would be a group limit booking of 20. That was in the original roadmap. That is a risk mitigator. It's on the advice of New South Wales Health, and that's why it's still in the roadmap. We know that all of these changes are for vaccinated people only. These are modest changes that are only applying to people who are vaccinated. Extra people.
Extra pubs, and they said the Deputy Premier communicated to them at 80% there wouldn't be any caps.
No, there has been no changes to the roadmap in relation.
I only read a story on the 30th saying hospitality booking caps scrapped at 80%.
There's no changes to the roadmap from with relation to the 20-person cap. That was what was in the roadmap at the beginning. It's what's in the roadmap today, and that is because we are taking a prudent approach to reopening the economy. We are reopening at 70% for fully vaccinated people only. We are reopening at 80% for fully vaccinated people only.
And the removal of you also said you're making changes for only the vaccinated, but you have made some slight changes for the unvaccinated as well, including allowing the unvaccinated to go to weddings and funerals, yeah?
Those changes were, those numbers were already in place before. So the increased numbers for weddings and funerals are only for vaccinated people. The reduced numbers for weddings and funerals, they are quite small for unvaccinated people who want to be able to attend those events. So there's no change there. We are taking a very stable, considered approach to this. As the Health Minister just said, this was extensive discussions with Health yesterday. We want to be able to strike the right balance here. And for everyone, we've worked together to get to this point, and as we reopen, we'll have to continue to work together. There's going to be businesses that are going to have vaccinated people coming to their door. We want people right across the community to be respectful of each other. Do the things that you need to do before Monday. Download your vaccination certificate onto your smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, download the printed documentation from the Medicare or Services Australia website. If you're a business, please go online and download the material that's available to you from newsouthwales.gov.au that allows you to communicate to your customers that you're a venue that's only open to people that are vaccinated. In your marketing collateral, tell people that you're only open to people that are vaccinated. One thing we know about where we sit right now in this pandemic is that it will be a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The unvaccinated people are more likely to get sick. The unvaccinated are more likely to be in our hospitals. The message about getting vaccinated has not changed. People get access to these new opportunities because they're vaccinated. That message is unchanged.
Was there any discussion yesterday about changing, about when you travel to the regions? Obviously that was 80%. Was there any discussion about changing that?
Look, there's no discussion, there's no changes in relation to that. So people in regional areas from Monday will be able to travel to other regional communities. When we get to 80%, people in Greater Sydney will be able to come out into the regions, and we know that the regional communities will be welcoming them at that particular point in time.
Back to whose question?
Earlier about the changes to this roadmap from the previous. Will you provide any modelling or any advice on how many more cases this would spread?
No, look, as the Premier said earlier, the health team are working on modelling every day and looking at what the changes will be. But there's a quiet confidence at the moment that, yes, we may well see some increases, but we're hopeful that those increases won't be substantial. It really does come down. Each of us have the power in our hands to make sure that our health staff aren't put at risk, that our hospitals don't have the numbers that were originally forecast, and obviously thus far they haven't. But the power in our hands is simply to go and get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. And the modelling will be worked on as we go forward, but at this point we don't have any major concerns.
Just to follow up to that question before, is it disappointing to you that clinics have been offering services like Botox?
Look, anything that's been allowed by the health team is something which is been approved by the health team. But the main issue for me was the issues that I addressed.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.